If you're thinking about moving to Philly, there's one neighborhood that everyone is talking about right now, and that's Fishtown. So Fishtown has incredible restaurants, great commercial strips, and a ton of real estate development happening right now. And it's really where old school Philly meets the modern, updated, new school Philly with all of the development that you're seeing pretty much throughout the city. So today, we're gonna break down everything that you need to know before moving to Fishtown. So I've been selling real estate in Philadelphia since 2017, and Fishtown has completely transformed over the past decade. And I've helped investors, developers, and home buyers navigate the Fishtown market as prices have climbed and new construction has continued to be built in that area. So today I'm gonna walk you through what makes this neighborhood so unique and whether it's the right place for you. My name is Marco DiGabriele, your local real estate agent here in Philadelphia, and it's my goal to provide you with everything that you need to know about living your best life on Broad Street. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in Philadelphia, shoot me an email or drop a comment below, and please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So the first thing I want to talk about with Fishtown is just the general lifestyle and vibe of the neighborhood. So Fishtown is a pretty artsy area. It's really, main strip is Frankfurt Ave, where you have most of your bars and restaurants. You also have nice little resale shops, antique stores, things along those lines. And then you also have a lot of restaurants and bars on Front Street. So those are really the two main adjacent strips in Fishtown. And that is really the reason why this neighborhood has expanded so much over the past few years. It's really all based around these commercial strips and people wanting to be as close as possible to the happening areas. The other thing to keep in mind with Fishtown is it does span all the way down to Columbus Ave. So you also have things like the Fillmore, you have Rivers Casino down there, and there are tons of new apartment buildings that are getting built right in that direct area. But Fishtown in general, it's full of pretty young professionals, a lot of creatives. There's also a lot of longtime locals in the area. So it's a very, very mixed bag as far as the people who are living in the area. And it's a pretty walkable neighborhood if you're planning on spending most of your time in Fishtown. So it does have its own kind of self-sustaining nightlife, its own neighborhood corner stores and things along those lines. But you aren't gonna really be walking into Center City from Fishtown. You're kind of gonna be in your own pocket of the city, and you're gonna be kind of contained to that area unless you hop on the L, which will take you right down to Center City pretty easily. And you can catch the L right on Front and Girard. So, you know, it is easy to get into Center City. However, if you're in Fishtown, you probably are gonna wanna spend a lot of time there because it is walkable within its own contained environment. So the second thing that I wanna touch about Fishtown is just the real estate market and the general home prices here. So Fishtown's very interesting from an architectural standpoint. There are a lot of the classic Philly row homes that you see that are typical throughout mostly South Philly, but obviously Fishtown, you are in the northeast area of Center City. So there are the classic row homes, but you also have an infusion of all of these newer, more modern looking homes as well, just because of the vast amount of development that has happened in the area. Another unique thing about the real estate in Fishtown is like the lot sizes do vary pretty significantly. So there are some lots that are really, really narrow, and you have these small homes, and there were actually homes that were built hundreds of years ago when people would go down to the Delaware River and be working on the ports or fishing. These were homes that the people who worked there resided in, and some of them are 12 or 13 feet wide, which is extremely narrow compared to your typical, 16-foot wide home is pretty much a nice benchmark for what a standard home in Philly would give you. And then you also have a mix of industrial lofts and things like that, because you did have the ports and you did have a lot of industrial old school buildings that were kept intact and were eventually renovated. So it's a really cool mix of architecture, and you're not going to see just one consistent theme throughout the entire neighborhood like you would in some parts of the city. You're going to see kind of a mixed bag. And then the second thing about the real estate in Fishtown is just generally understanding the pricing and what you can get there. So Fishtown, you can get in at a pretty nice entry price. You can probably get a nice starter home in the $300,000 to $400,000 price range. And it also depends on how far you're pushing out towards the edges of the neighborhood. Obviously, as you get a little bit further out, you're gonna get more value. And by further out, I mean further away from Frankfurt Ave. Generally, the closer that you're getting to Frankfurt and Girard, the more expensive the real estate is getting in this neighborhood. And then secondly, I just want to point out that with the amount of development happening in this neighborhood, you can easily find yourself looking at properties that are closer to $1 million. And that really just depends on what you're looking for in a home. So if you're looking for newer construction, if you're looking for something that's closer to 2,500, 3,000 plus square feet, if you're looking for something that has parking, those are things that may push that purchase price up and get you a lot closer to anywhere between a 7, 8, 900 to $1 million plus price point. And the price points in Fishtown recently have gone past $1 million for certain homes. So that is something to be aware of, but generally, you can find a good range of price points in this area depending on what you're looking for. So now that you have an understanding of just like the general vibe of the neighborhood, some information about the real estate market, let's talk about some of the best places to hang out, eat, drink, and find entertainment. So as I mentioned a few times, Frankfurt Ave and Front Street are the main commercial strips in the neighborhood, and they're lined with restaurants and bars. And obviously that is really appealing to have a commercial strip in the neighborhood, multiple commercial strips that you can walk to, you can grab a bite to eat, you can get a coffee, you can get a drink, what have you. So the other great thing about this area is the restaurants coming in are really, really strong, and some of them are getting even recognized on a national platform, like Kalaya. The chef from Kalaya, who also owns the restaurant, was just recently featured on Chef's Table, which is obviously giving a platform to some of the best chefs in the world. And that's not the only restaurant to be recognized on a national platform. We also have Suraya. We also have on Front Street Middle Child Clubhouse, which I think was recently named the best brunch in America, which is pretty cool. And there's all sorts of other restaurants too. Front Street Cafe, Mulheron's, tons of places to get a bite to eat. Aside from just restaurants, there's also great cocktail bars and breweries. So you have places like Frankfurt Hall, R&D, Next of Kin, Evil Genius, and these are all little places that you could pop in, grab a beer, grab a cocktail. Again, great for a growing commercial strip. And then finally, you have a lot of live music and entertainment as well. So as you go down towards Columbus and towards the Delaware River, you have the Fillmore, which is consistently hosting different concerts and events. You have Punchline Comedy Club, which is right there. You actually have Brooklyn Bowl, which even though it's a bowling alley, also has a lot of concerts that are hosted there. And then on Frankfurt Ave, there's even smaller bars like Johnny Brenda's that have music from time to time. So there's a lot of entertainment available in this area. So I want to quickly talk about just some of the pros and cons of living in the area. I think that obviously the pros are the walkability to the commercial strip if you are close to Girard and Frankfurt, and even going out as far as streets like York Street and past that, you can get to the main strip usually within a 15-minute walk, and even if it's a little bit of a further walk, if you're going past York Street, it's a really, really quick Uber. There's also a trolley on Girard that you can take down, which is really convenient. So it makes it easy from pretty much anywhere on Girard in the neighborhood to get down to Front and Girard. And then if you're on Frankford, you can take the L down to Front and Girard as well. So it's pretty easy to get to the main commercial strip, and also into Center City from there, because the L does connect into the Market Street line, which takes you right into City Hall. So I think the walkability is great. The access to transit is pretty great, and the food scene and the amount of entertainment that's available in the neighborhood is great. So if you're looking for a neighborhood that does have a lot of action, a lot of things going on, you know, even street festivals and things along those lines, Fishtown is definitely a place that you'll want to look. And then there's also a ton of new construction and investment happening in the neighborhood. So it is a pro and a con, I would say. The positive is there is new inventory coming to the area. Last year, Fishtown was the #1 market for new construction sales in the city. It had the most units that sold. So there is opportunity to purchase brand new units in the neighborhood, which is great. Some of the cons is, I would say, the parking in the neighborhood. Not the easiest to park in Fishtown. So that leads back to the conversation about real estate prices. If you do have one or multiple cars and you are looking for a house that has, you know, a garage or driveway parking, it is going to get pricier for you. Now that's generally how it's going to be anywhere in the city. If you are looking for parking, it's generally gonna end up being a property that is 500, 600, 700, 800 plus, depending on where you are in the city, but it does get pricier, and Fishtown is not the easiest neighborhood to park in. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then the other con, going back to the new construction happening, obviously for all the positives that have happened with new construction in the area, there are some concerns with just, you know, the amount of construction that's happening, the disruption to longtime residents who've been in the area. And just if you're living in the neighborhood, you are going to have to expect that there's going to be streets that are shut down for construction happening. You may have properties on your block that are getting rebuilt, and there's going to be construction noise, and it's not always the most convenient thing, but it is the price you pay for being in an area that is really being redeveloped because of the demand for buyers to get in there. So if you're looking for a neighborhood that is really happening, has a lot of activity, and has a lot of things to do, I would say that Fishtown is a great place to look. Again, it also has a lot of younger professionals, it has a lot of creatives, it also has a lot of families. So there's a good mixed bag of people in the neighborhood, but just know that it is not the quiet suburban area. So if you want a quieter area that isn't going to be, you know, swarmed with people during the weekends and weekend nights when people are going out, this may not be the neighborhood that you're looking for. If you want more of just like a strictly residential area with like peace and quiet, Fishtown is probably not the place to look. However, there are pockets of the neighborhood that are further away from the commercial strips where you can find a little bit of that. So that is something to keep in mind. It may work for you if you're okay with being a little bit further from the commercial strips. And I think this neighborhood has really great strength in terms of both a short-term and long-term investment. I think in the short term, obviously, you're seeing the amount of demand that's coming into the neighborhood. So I feel like if you're gonna buy something and be in it for the next 2, 3, 5 years, this neighborhood is one that I don't see having any issues with continuing to grow. And then long term, I think this is also gonna eventually be probably one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the city as it continues to get redeveloped, just because of the commercial strip on Frankford. I don't see the strength of that going away. And also the amount of units that are getting added to this area as far as new construction and apartment buildings that are, hundreds and hundreds of units with commercial on the bottom floors, I think that this neighborhood is really well positioned for the long term as well. So that's what I have for you today about Fishtown. I hope that you enjoyed this overview. If you're thinking of moving to Fishtown or investing in the area, definitely drop me a comment and reach out with any questions or concerns. I'd love to help you find the right place in the neighborhood or anywhere else in Philly. And also don't forget to like and subscribe for more Philly real estate insights. I'm Marco DiGabriele. I'll catch you next time.